All right, let's see if I can share screen. If I can figure this out. Let's see, I get that. And hello, we're live, I think.
It looks like it.
There we go. All right, cool. So we are here. Hello, I'm TarotOracle. We got Dr. Mystical Tarot. We got Kathleen, otherwise known as Mystic, the Mystic Cats. Psychic readings there. So how is everybody doing?
We're good.
We're awesome, man. Thanks for having us on.
And you all get to hear the craziness in the background that's normally drowned out by, snores in the middle of the night.
That's cool. Luthien, hello. How's it going? And GA Peach is here early. Everybody's here. That's cool. All right. So, Kathleen, do you want to start with you and give an introduction, what you do, what your deck is, and how has been the quest so far?
I am Kathleen, also known as Kat. Usually everybody calls me Kat. I am also Mystic Cat on YouTube and all the various places, Instagram and everything else. My pride and joy is Tarot at a Glance, my Kickstarter, which is, as of this morning, 78% funded. So I'm super excited about that. Tarot at a Glance is a deck that a concept that I came up with probably 6 or 7 years ago when I started teaching my oldest child how to read tarot cards, and it just kind of stuck with me. And about a year ago, it really started getting at me, and I didn't know how to do it. And eventually it just sort of clicked one night, and I was like, wow, that would be a really great way to do it. And I put a couple cards together and showed them to Jeff, and he said those are really awesome. I would buy them. And that's coming from somebody who's strictly runes. So if he would buy tarot cards, it's something pretty awesome. And it kind of grew from there.
Okay, well, cool. And Doc, how is it going?
Hey, everybody. Hey, yeah, so I'm Dr. Mystical, just at Dr. Mystical, everywhere. And so I'm of the three of us, I'm here to learn more than anybody else. So I have created a divination system called Steampunk Divination Dice. So I went through that process of creating the symbols and the meanings and worked with a friend who was a graphic artist to create that stuff. Now I'm pivoting over and wanting to create an Oracle deck system, which blossomed into actually creating a tarot system with something. So the two systems I'm working on now, my Oracle deck is called Oracle of the Mists, which is going to be paintings and drawings, not TO level quality. I'm hoping to get there, but the tarot deck is called Minimal Tarot, and it just focuses in on the symbol, the key, like essentially the pentacles, the cups, the whatever in the deck. It's just meant to be a very, as you might expect, minimal tarot system.
Well, cool. All right. And I'm TarotOracle. I'm sure everyone's familiar with me. I guess since you're watching the channel. So I created the Echoes of Nature Oracle. I'm currently working on a tarot deck. So this is my first deck, and I started with an Oracle because tarot is more cards and it's more complex. So, and now moving on to a tarot from here, just trying to sort of figure it out, like everyone trying to figure it out as I go along, kind of thing. Right. So let's see. Let's see. Whoops, that'd be the wrong thing. So as far as decks, what? So, Kat, are you currently working on another deck, or are you just trying to get this deck on Kickstarter? You said you had another Kickstarter coming up afterwards?
Right. I have my my divination charms. Where's my camera? There it is. The charms that I use. And then I've thought of starting an Oracle deck as well. I just haven't gotten there yet. I've had 2 strokes. I've let both of you know that, but not much of the audience knows that. If they're regulars to my channel, then they know that. So I used to draw. I actually used to be a tattoo artist, and my hands now are like, nope, not going to happen. So I would love to be able to draw and paint still and create my own artwork for this, but I'm either going to have to hire somebody or it's going to have to be photographs or something else.
Okay, so when do you expect to be done with that? Is that going to be 2021 or so, or when?
Possibly. I'm not quite sure. That one's sort of in the works.
Okay, well, cool. So, Doc, when do you think yours is going to be done, or when do you expect yours to be warming up there?
So Minimal Tarot, I should have the artwork done by the end of the month of May, and then what I have to do is think about how I want, like the Minimal Tarot aspect is a little bit easier because I'm working with iconography and I'm working just with digital images. The Oracle of the Mists, and we can talk about like some of the artwork creation a little bit later on. But I'm hand drawing that, despite my youthful appearance, with all the blonde in my beard, I didn't really pick up art until last year in terms of like drawing or painting. And eventually, at some point, I was inspired by Bob Ross, and it really is as easy as he makes it look. But it takes a little bit of practice to kind of finesse those skills. Now I'm pivoting over to digital, and I would expect the Oracle of the Mist to be out by kind of mid fall of this year, just kind of getting all the images put in place. It's probably going to end up being 40 Oracle cards, but the Minimal Tarot will be the full 78, and it'll be out probably this summer.
Okay, cool. And I think mine is going to be done around the end of the month. I think I'm going to Kickstarter, but it'll be done around the end of the year. So we're just sort of looking at mine and the challenges I'm running into. I'm just sort of looking at probably end of the year, November, if I do it really fast. So what do you think, Kat, about why would you start actually creating a deck? Like, what motivated you to start creating a deck, and what kept you motivated through the process?
Well, I got my first tarot deck when I was 9 for my 9th birthday. So I have been in love with tarot and all things divination pretty much since then. I love to teach. I was a teacher. I was a preschool teacher. I had to give up on that for various reasons, mostly my health. And this is my way of still being able to teach. That's why I still do it. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but my tarot deck is done. My tarot deck is actually 100 cards. So there was a lot of work put into all the extras that I did as well. So the extra cards that are in there, there's 22 extra cards strictly to teach. They're not to be used for divination. They're not used to be used for anything. It's sort of in place of the book. They're just there to teach.
And that is Tarot at a Glance. That's on Kickstarter now. So you said you
Right.
are 78% funded right now?
That's what it says on my dashboard, yeah.
And 8 days to go. So go check her deck out and pick it up. Kickstarter, you still got 8 days to get a copy of this. So when is this printed, or are you going to print this after the Kickstarter, or what is your plan there?
Printed after the Kickstarter. I have a few decks that I had printed, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago before I started all this, and they're still taking quite a long time with everything going on. But I do plan to ship around the world. I plan to have the choice of decks. You see on my page here that there's 2 different decks. One is the Dark Edition, one's the Northern Lights Edition, to give backers different choices. I also plan on doing stretch goals and extending the duration of the Kickstarter. As long as we make our goal here, then we'll go ahead and put into place the stretch goals that I have planned and everything else with gilding and other things on the deck.
Okay, yeah, it looks really pretty. So
We backed that. My show backed that when Mystic Cats was doing a collab with us. The community was so generous of spirit. We were able to take those donations and back that Kickstarter as a community. From the Dr. Mystical side, it's a great looking deck, especially for new readers. It has the keywords that you would normally write down on your cards or write down on a cheat sheet. It's a great looking deck, and I think, at least from how we read together, I think that it's an awesome deck to back, and I was so excited when she came out with like the alternative version that it kind of got my juices flowing about the Minimal Tarot and what that might look like. And
yeah, that's cool. And especially good for beginners, because a lot of people will write on their cards. They'll get the standard Rider Waite and they'll make notes on the cards because, instead of trying to because obviously you're growing up, you'll have like flashcards is a good way to learn anything instead of just rote memorization. So having something like this to where it's just beginner friendly, you can, just jump into it and you don't have to memorize 1,000 things before you can start reading kind of thing. It's a handy thing to have.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So Doc, when do you think yours, when you go to get this funded, are you going to Kickstarter? Are you going to Indiegogo, or what is your plan?
I don't really. This is an area that I don't really know quite yet. I mean, so I've looked at Kickstarter in different parts of my my professional career and looking at how Kickstarter works and understanding that a little bit. But I don't. My honest answer is I don't really know about funding the deck, the system, my divination dice that I created. I did print on demand with the Game Crafter, and that's where they live. And I'm comfortable with that. Right, I'm pretty comfortable with that print on demand type of thing, only because that's what I've done. But I'm interested in how decks are being funded on Kickstarter, and I'm learning a lot by how watched you build and fund Echoes of Nature, and watching Kat and so many other people who are using Kickstarter or Etsy to get things done. The answer is I don't really know. That's some of what I'm thinking about as I develop the cards and it's kind of lower base level thinking as I think about the more heady business end of this and how it gets funded.
Yeah. So, Kat, you obviously did all digital, right? Or did you do anything physical and then scan it in and then do digital on top of it? Or what medium did you choose?
No, it's all digital.
It's all digital. And Doc, you said you're actually going to hand draw some things. What is your plan there as far as the digital versus physical?
Yeah, so like I've been watching you do your watercolor tarot, and at first I was like, he's definitely doing this digitally, but then you showed your art studio, and what I've done is at first I was gonna. The Oracle of the Mists is a nature-based deck, based in the 4 elements, and it's looking obviously at mists, which is I picked because it's hard to say, and I was gonna purchase photographs because I am okay but not great at painting and drawing, and that is outrageously expensive. Outrageously expensive to get the copyright clearances, which is everything you should do, and it's just prohibitive. So I'm using Procreate and my iPad, and I'm learning to draw and paint on Procreate. I can paint oil on canvas, and I'm pretty good at that. But I don't know if I can take that to my job and throw it on the photocopier and digitize it. They're probably a little sketchy about that stuff. But I'm using Procreate on the iPad with an Apple Pencil and drawing it out and playing with some digital images. Like at first, with that I'm kind of learning to trace it. Minimal Tarot, I'm using Photoshop Elements, which is the kind of the iMovie version of Photoshop, to build those icons and get those cards built. So it is digital, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't mind doing physical work, like physical painting work, but the digital stuff is just a little bit easier given what I do all day and sitting in front of computers.
Exactly. And you end up digital no matter what you do. I mean, even if you do a spectacular oil painting, you still have to end up with a digital file. So at a minimum, you're going to scan it in and you have to color correct it, because no matter what you did, there's no way you're going to just ship it out as it came into the camera. I mean, you're going to have to color correct it. You have to bump up some things. You're going to have to bump up the blacks or whites, get some contrast in it, because it looks terrible coming straight out of the camera, no matter what camera you use. So,
that's right.
Yeah. So Kat, what software did you use? Tell us about the software journey that you took, what you use, what you would recommend.
Well, I actually created everything with this.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
As far as I have a few of them printed out, like the little icons I've used, it's all free stuff that you sign up. I don't remember what it's called now. You go and you can sign up for a month or whatever for $10, and you can get all the pictures you want for free and download them. Can't remember what it's called.
Oh, there's like 1,000 of those. Yeah, just
Yeah,
subscription services where you just grab pictures and you pay and you get 10 pictures for $10 or whatever kind
yeah,
of thing.
pretty much. That's how I did it.
Yeah, there's a ton of those. Any stock photo sites and
Oh,
stuff, but
Shutterstock. That's the one I used.
Shutterstock.
Shuttershot, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's so many of those, and some have really, really good prices, and you can get some with a subscription, so you get 10 photos for X dollars per month, or you can get some where it's $10 per photo or whatever, depending upon where it is. But yeah, Doc, where were you looking where it was outrageously expensive? Because
Well, it
there's
was
a bunch of those.
Shutterstock. I mean, it was Shutterstock. There's a lot of different companies that you can buy images and digital artwork through. As you dig into the pricing models and understand a little bit more about their copyright clearances and what they allow, that's where things start to get real. So as I go through my process, I'm looking at what publishers like Llewellyn or Hay House might expect from a tarot deck submission. And one of the things that they look for is an indemnification of revenues over $250,000, which I think for my deck that's a lot. That's asking a lot, but yay, right? Let's set our bar high. And when I started digging into the licensure around Shutterstock and other companies, I realized that they do have like a kind of individual use license and they have a commercial royalty free license, but it's not totally royalty free. It's royalty free up to a point, and then you need to up to say $50,000 worth of revenue, and then you need to re-up, and that's where it expands into a multiplier, and it starts getting into and listen, I absolutely understand copyright. Like that's what I understand that, and I have that conversation almost on a weekly basis of no, you cannot steal this thing and use this for this other purpose. And they say, well, it's for educational purposes, and I say it doesn't really matter. And so, right, I'm hyper aware and sensitive to things like copyright, and I have stuff that I own. Right, I wouldn't want to see it necessarily stolen, although I'm a much more open guy. So for me, I think I was looking at that and I thought that might be a good way to go, and maybe I can do that through funding. But the cost of the Kickstarter kind of almost tripled. So I decided that it'd be a better use of my evenings to sit down on the couch and draw, and versus watching the nth run of The Big Bang Theory. So and then I own the images, and I don't need to worry about that anymore. I don't have to be frustrated by copyright or potentially come into a place where I get into some legal trouble, and I didn't want to do anything like that. So
Yeah, my approach was, let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, my approach was sort of different, I guess. So this, like a friend's dog, this was from Pixabay. This was from a lesson. Then I got permission. This was Brianna's cat that she actually said, do anyone just send me a picture of their cat? I'll paint it for free and I'll send it to you. And that's normally like, I'll charge $100 something for that, but I'll do it for free if you let me use it for the deck. And Brianna's like, cool, it's my cat. So that's Brianna's cat. This was a picture I purchased off wildlifereferencephotos.com. So you can pay $3 and they'll give you a photo and you can paint it. You can do anything you want with it after that. You own the painting. So commercially, anything else. So I got this cat off Wildlife Reference Photos and I painted the cat in pastels. And this was from Pixabay. I painted this. And actually on my Patreon, I have a lesson on how to create this cat step by step. I show every brush stroke or every stroke of the pastels and everything else. So
that's great.
So yeah, you have a lot of different as far as copyright. Pixabay is completely free. Wildlife Reference Photos, Pixabay, you can ask somebody for reference and get permission to use it, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to sort of go about that and see how to get that done.
Yeah, I mean, for the minimal tarot, I'm using the Noun Project, which, so if you don't know about the Noun Project, what it is a bunch. This is great if you're doing PowerPoint presentations or work projects or whatever it is you're doing. But the Noun Project is simple kind of icons, images, symbols of whatever, right? Put in there fire, and you'll get a million icons of fire. The Noun project, you can use for absolutely free, but you have to put the CC BY, like the Creative Commons licensure in for it.
Mhm.
Or you can, for I think $30, you have absolutely totally royalty free use of these icons for whatever you're doing. So for decks like Minimal Tarot or Tarot at a Glance, Cat's great deck. If that's what you're looking for, is just to add some icons to your deck, whether it's Oracle or Tarot, the Noun project might be a good place for you to go. Once you purchase it, you can get it in higher resolutions, and you can color it, you can modify it, and you own it wholesale. It's your little icon.
Okay, cool. So, Kat, how long did it take, start to finish, and how much will it cost once you're done for your particular deck?
Well, the cost is up for debate depending on how far the Kickstarter goes, how much we get funded. As far as just the basic cards, they're about, I'd say with shipping, $30 a deck.
Mhm.
So if that's just basic, but the more decks you buy with different printers, the cheaper they get. Now, I did purchase all of my little icons. I purchased all of those to make sure there was no copyright issues with that. I purchased anything I didn't find for free. I actually purchased from the people that created it. All in all, I've probably spent close to $4,000 or $5,000 putting this together over the last year.
So, what's your total time? I mean, how many total hours do you think is getting it ready, getting it up and running, get Kickstarter, getting the social media going, etc.?
Well, I think I probably popped in on the whole social media front here with everybody probably about 2.5, 3 months ago. So that's how long it took for all the social media things to get the Kickstarter up and running. For all of that, I've always read tarot cards on my own, not around people. Well, now we have, or around people. Now we have no choice. Where I have no way to be around people, I have to do everything online. So all of that over the last 3 months with the Kickstarter becoming, making my face known on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. That's probably how long that took. The costs, now it is tricky because it's all, I don't know exactly. Costs that I've put into it to make this dream happen are different than what I expect people on Kickstarter to back. So what I'm asking for on Kickstarter, that is $3,333 because my lucky number is 3. So I figured that was a good number, and that will get me 500 decks to sell. So 500 basic decks. But I personally put a lot of time and money and energy into it because I've changed my mind a million times and funded things myself that were just not ready yet to be funded. But you live and you learn.
Yep. So mine, I would say I spent 4 to 5 hours per painting plus supplies. So you're talking about, I don't know, the supplies for each painting. I'm not really using much pastel, much pencil. I'm not really using much paint. I mean, when you get decent with watercolor, oil paint, pastel, you don't really use much, and you can get quite a bit of stuff done. So I would say 4 to 5 hours per times 72, so however many that is, and then add in the digital. I would say about 30 minutes per card. I mean, this, out of the box, this doesn't look this good. I color corrected it. I punched up the blacks. I could put some blue haze over it. I punched up the eyes in Photoshop. So it looks a little bit better than it does in real life, or it looks about the same, I guess, depending upon your vision. So 4.5, 5 hours plus 30 minutes. The cost, to cost each deck, I think was $19 per deck plus shipping. And then we had the cost of getting the decks to me, the cost of the Photoshop subscription, the cost of, the basic supplies to get this done. So, talking about like $4 or $5 each for basic supplies. So $5 for supplies for each, 5 hours, 30 minutes with Photoshop, plus shipping, organizing, all my time. I would say probably 6 hours times 72 would be my total time invested in this. So what do you think, Doc? What do you think yours is going to run up to?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue like the minimal tarot is a little bit different because I'm not doing a lot of undoing. Like I'm not trying to get the coloring right. It's a black and white deck, and so the time on it it's minimal. It's the minimal tarot, and so I would say I probably put in a good probably hour on if I'm having trouble with a card or getting the imaging right, the kind of an hour in getting it perfect in the way that I like it, and then realizing 30 minutes later that it's not the way that I like it. And so there's a lot of back and forth, but the minimal tarot I probably, is probably going to put in, we're probably looking at about 100 hours worth of labor to get that deck done. Oracle of the Mists, I would say, is very, very close to your Echoes of Nature. So I have one card that I am nearly done with. That's one of 40, and it's taken me a boatload of time because I'm learning Procreate. I'm learning how to use the pencil better and get things. So it's constantly, the undo button has become my friend. Turns out there are gestures you can use on your iPad to make that faster, but I didn't know that for a couple of days. And so, right, so I expect that'll get a little bit easier over time, just like most things you practice. But I would argue that it'll probably average out to be about 6 hours, 7 hours per card. Mm-hmm. And I'd expect the decks to kind of hover around, the minimal tarot will probably hover around that $20, $25 range. The Oracle of the Mist would probably be a little bit higher, but I haven't gotten to the cost structure of that yet. Because again, my history is print on demand, so I don't have to worry necessarily about that. Most of the revenue goes to my print on demand service, which is the Game Crafter.
Yeah. So speaking of print on demand, speaking of getting everything printed, shipping, and everything like that. So Doc, are you going to keep using Game Crafter?
I don't know. I might for the minimal tarot just because I can do it a lot quicker. That said, right now with the pandemic, the Game Crafter is completely shut down. So I have a playing cards game, like a family playing card game that's sitting in the Game Crafter right now. I'm waiting for the prototype so I can get back to proofing it and make that available, which is not tarot related. It's just play fun related. But it's been 2 months and they're not producing any orders short of parts orders. So I as much as I want to support the Game Crafter and print on demand, I've become a little bit frustrated. I do still want to be able to produce stuff, and I know that there's other print on demand services. I still think the Game Crafter is probably the better of them. Mm-hmm. So that's pushing me over to more of a standard printer who is still working and still doing things. Turns out here in Central Florida, there's one just down the road that
Shuffled Ink.
Yeah, Shuffled Ink. That's right. Yeah, and so. That might be where I end up putting this deck and then just selling everything through my website or Etsy or whatever.
Yeah, so that's what I use. Shuffled Ink. They had the best reviews, and I had fantastic service with them. It was a family business, so they had decent prices. I was thinking about Print Ninja. Print Ninja is like sort of an arbitrator between you and China. So basically, they will order it from China, they'll get it shipped over, and then they'll get it all organized for you and then ship it to you. But the cost with Shuffled Ink was so low that it was just like I'd rather just do it locally. I don't have the delay and anything like that. So I like Shuffled Ink. So
yeah, I looked at the same things, T.O., and I looked at Print Ninja, and when I saw that it was a distributor to China, it's not that I have any problems with getting things printed wherever they want to be printed, but I think given the current situation, importing and supply lines to China is probably problematic for decks. So.
Yeah. So Kat, where are you going to get yours printed, and how are you going to do the shipping, and how are you going to handle all the logistics?
All right. So for my prototypes, I had them printed at, guess where? Shuffled Ink.
There you go.
But I haven't had a great experience with Shuffled Ink. I've had horrible communication with them. I have asked for tracking numbers and other things, and they just give me a vague response. Oh, your order's done printing. Well, it was done printing 3 weeks ago, and it still hasn't been shipped out. So I'm not having a great experience with Shuffled Ink. They also do not offer gilded edgings on the tarot decks unless you go through their overseas plant, and then they never explained how that worked. For that, I have looked into Print Ninja, MakePlayingCards.com, Mr. Playing Card. Those are my top 3 for larger amounts of cards with like the gilded and edging and other specialty things like that. Like the better boxes, they don't offer anything other than the tuck boxes with Shuffled Ink. They so I don't want just a tuck box with my deck. I would like a 2-piece box with my deck. So we're still in the process of trying to find the best bang for the buck.
Yeah, and that's sort of one of the things that Print Ninja has so many options from the gold, from the like you're talking about the gilded edging, the custom hard boxes. I mean, they offer just tons and tons of different things. And Print Ninja will also ship you samples, so you can pay a couple of bucks, and they'll ship you a bunch of samples. And so you can touch and feel all the different cards and whatnot. So, Print Ninja is really, really good as far as that. I've also tried Superior Pod. They were okay. And I've never tried some of the other ones. I tried Make Playing Cards, but they were outrageously expensive for what I wanted to do. I wish if Make Playing Cards wasn't so expensive, they would be the premier. It would be the premier, in my opinion.
Yeah, they have a lot of options on the Make Playing Cards. Also with Print Ninja, you can partner with them. They have a partnership program where you get, I think it's 5% off of your entire order, and they help you advertise your Kickstarter and things like that. Yeah. I had for about a week, I was partnering with them, Print Ninja, to help do my Kickstarter, but that's when people started backing out of my Kickstarter, and I'm a very superstitious person, and I said I can't partner with you anymore because too many people are backing out.
Yeah, Print Ninja, let's see, printing resources, order samples. So you can get a sample from Print Ninja. They'll do books and all that. So I ordered the card sample pack, and it came, and it had, so you can touch and feel the 330 GSM, the 310 GSM, the linen, and all that stuff. And I think it was a couple of bucks or whatever for that. So that was a nice thing. And then they have you sort of look on here, they print books and all sorts of other stuff. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Print Ninja is not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's been some of the frustration with Game Crafter as well. I mean, you're not going to be able to see a sample of your deck unless you essentially purchase it. You're not going to pay the retail price. You're going to pay the cost of the deck to be printed and produced and shipping. But again, right, things being shut down, timelines and logistics lines are extended, and it's frustrating. That said, we can make movies about the decks because they're digital. So maybe we shift from printed cards to digital apps. I don't know.
So have either one of you thought about going to Llewellyn, submitting it to one of the major distributors and taking your chances? Or are you sticking with indie, or what is the ultimate plan there?
Yeah. Go ahead, Kat.
In my case, I guess my thought is that if it does well on the indie market, then maybe I have a chance with a bigger printer like Llewellyn, or there was another one I was looking into, but I don't remember what it is at this point. I don't think until I hit that point where there's that much demand where I can't take care of it myself, then I don't need to consider a bigger printer.
But would you? Let's say your deck goes out, and then all of a sudden you just get outrageous demand. I mean, it makes the news or something like that. So somebody's like very excited, and you appear on all these tarot sites. At that point, if there's just a ton of demand, would you still do it yourself, or how would you handle that?
I think for the long run, I'd still try to manage everything myself. I don't want to, you know, pull a Doreen Virtue on everybody and print all these great decks that people use, and then, you know, have half of us want to burn them because you've changed your views on everything. That was pretty much a joke. I'm not going to change my views on tarot ever, but I would kind of feel like a sellout if I started myself and got all this pride in myself, and then I just said, well, I'm just going to sell off and do this. I might do something where it's print on demand, like Doc's talking about with his printer. Let them take care of it, but I still have my say-so about things.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you handling shipping, Kat? So let's say you're going to ship out 100 decks. How are you going to do that?
I have looked into several different, like, pirate ship and shippers bay and shipping. We're going to come to that because I have had some bad experiences already just trying to send out. I make different items like candles and stuff. Just this one little candle to Canada cost me $36, and this is the candle that got returned to me.
Whoa. Why does that cost $36? I'm assuming it's a small package?
Maybe, I don't know. It was in a bubble mailer, and it cost me $36. It could also be because I live literally in the middle of nowhere, and the post office lady was mad that day and wanted an extra tip. I'm not sure, but
they gotta fly it in on prop planes and
right.
I'm personally taking it there in my car right now.
Yeah. She
Come
gets
on
the
delivery.
Yeah, get out the sled dogs and make it up to Canada.
Jesus, yeah, I used Pirate Ship too. There's a bunch of these that Pirate Ship was free, and I know they have a couple other shipping options that are not free. You have to pay $15 a month to use them. So I tried out Pirate Ship and I liked it. I liked all the features. I liked how it would fill in the address once you start typing it in. It will also give you a history. So if I ship to 100 people, it'll show all 100 people on the screen, and it'll show all their status of tracking. So I know, 20 of them arrived, but 5 are still in transit that are shipped overseas and things like that. So I was very impressed with Pirate Ship. What about you, Doc? I mean, how are you going to handle shipping and such?
Yeah, so as we talk, right, my mind is racing, which I love. And so a lot of what I'm thinking, like, how I think about and how I kind of run Dr. Mystical is a lot around kind of, this is my own world and my own company and my own kind of approach to things. And so the one thing you only really have in this world is your contacts to your community. And so even with Game Crafter, which does print on demand, I don't know who bought my stuff. I know that somebody bought it and where they live, but we're shipping to the Sudan, whatever, I don't know. But I don't know that I don't know. Like, Kat reached out to me and said she bought my dice. And so that, I was like, oh, that's who bought that. And so I like the idea of owning it, and hearing about, I've looked at Pirate Ship a lot, and hearing that it's something to help you kind of build your contact with your community. That makes sense to me. And I'm okay with it. I'm allowed to have things stored in the house, but I'm not allowed to do laser engraving of wood in the house anymore.
You can't do sculpting either? Are they?
Yeah, right. Turns out I can't. Yeah, it turns out I can't make the laser engraved dice and blah blah blah. Fire, whatever. Like there's all these rules that I have to obey. But I do like the idea of using kind of I'm moving my mind moves closer to using a printer, have that stuff shipped to me, or have it look for a drop shipper, and use something like Pirate Ship, and just be I really value my connection to my community. And so having me be able to write a thank you note or sign the deck or include a nice thing. Like, I looked at how This Might Hurt Tarot did her deck. And that's such a nice touch to the community, and to do a little bit extra to let people know how much that really does mean to you. Because it does mean a lot. I mean, when people buy your stuff and they enjoy it, and that means that kind of is reaffirming, right?
Yeah, getting a signed copy is very important for some people. I remember I had one particular individual, I forgot to sign their deck. I don't know how that happened. And they wrote me, I was like, oh my God, let me send you a new box. Let me sign it. And so I sent them 2 new boxes and I signed both of them with their name and everything. And I, profusely apologized and I shipped that out. But I mean, yeah, having the opportunity to do that, to put in some extras, I signed it, whatever. By the way, on the screen is makeplayingcards.com. We talked about this. So the good news is they have a lot of options, lots and lots of options. The bad news is they're more expensive than anybody else.
And they have a Kickstarter support type of operation as well, like, or is that the one? That's the one we're talking about, makeplayingcards.com.
Yeah, and here's when I tried Superior Pod. They were good and they're cheap, but they took a while because they're good and they're cheap. Yeah. So you had a line out the door.
Choose to, yeah.
They don't have.
I've even looked at, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've even looked at like local like in my area printers, like so like in the town or neighboring towns that I've lived in, to see if they're closed right now. But to see if they'd be willing to work with me on that, and reached out to my graphic design friend and talked with her a little bit about some of the printers that she's used in the past. But I want to keep that tight community, that small community and feel. But yeah, it's good, faster, cheap, choose 2, right?
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, okay, I had good luck. Kat didn't have good luck. And Doc, you said this one was close to you. This is Shuffled Ink. This was a family-run business. Their prices were good. Turnaround was about 2 weeks. They don't have a lot of options. It's, when they send you samples of somebody else's game and stuff like that. So, it was a bit, they were not challenging to work with, but they did have a couple of things, but it sounds like Kat had more of a bad experience than me. So
yeah,
Kat,
a little bit.
Your main problems with Shuffled Ink were what? You said they didn't have tracking numbers. You said that they didn't communicate with you about the printing process, or
right there just really is no communication. I have a email in my inbox or outbox that I sent them a week and a half ago asking when my cards were going to be shipped, since they were already printed, and still no response.
Yeah, and sometimes everybody's going to have a different experience, I guess, with different printers. Sure. And the other one was Print Ninja. I think we all liked Print Ninja so far. I mean, just the availability of the options, the sample packs, and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, well, cool. Yeah, we got a lot of good options for doing that. We got shipping. Talked about Pirate Ship, and there's some other options as well. You can search for the various shipping things, but having a shipping thing like Pirate Ship or anything to ship is absolutely necessary. Trying to run 100 packages to your post office is not only expensive, but you're going to get really bad looks from everybody in line. So,
especially if you're standing there filling out the labels.
oh yeah. If you do international, you have to fill out this form too. Yeah. Right. You have to fill the whole thing out, and it has like a little carbon copy. So then you rip off the carbon copy and stuff, and you're standing at the side of the post office trying to do 50 packages that are going overseas by doing all handwriting it, and then they have to type it in. After you do that, they have to type it in and then include it. I can't imagine like doing this.
Yeah, I'm happy with a shipper. So.
Okay. All right. So I see a good question in the comments, actually. Luthien says, silly question. She thought it was silly. I think it's a good question. When you send a deck to that you've created for printing, is your intellectual property safe? So do you have a copyright now that you are sending it out, or do you have to get a copyright first? That I didn't know, so I just sort of did a poor man's copyright on my own work. I sent the information to myself in a sealed package.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, yeah, that's certainly. I mean, there's a big. I think that's a big part of it, right? Is that your IP, your intellectual property is really critical. So doing something like sending back, having a copy that you mail to yourself is the kind of the poor man's copyright. You can also use things like Creative Commons. So if you don't know what Creative Commons is, Google it, check it out. It's totally legally enforceable, and you can kind of set where you want your permissions to be. So that way, if people do use your image and you see it out there, and you didn't want that to be they don't credit you, or they use it outside of your license scope, you can enforce your copyright through Creative Commons. And there's many stories about this from big German newspapers reprinted a Flickr image that was Creative Commons with just an accreditation, and I mean the legalese on it, the contracting on it is airtight, and the case, the folklore on it is the case went before the judge. The judge looked at the plaintiff and said, "How much money do you want? Because they're in the wrong here." They were good about it and said, just reprint the thing next week and say, "Who took that picture?" That's my business and what I do. So Creative Commons is another way that you can protect a little bit of your intellectual property.
Yeah, so how are you planning to do that, Doc?
I think I'm looking more carefully at Creative Commons. Part of that is just my overall philosophy. I like to produce work in that kind of Creative Commons space because I don't care if people want to use some of my work is just CC BY, like just say who did it. Other stuff is non-commercial, no derivatives. It depends on what I want to do with it, but I don't mind that people to use the work or whatever they want to do with it. As long as that's okay with me. So I have different products and different things that I've done under different licensures, but that falls on you. You got to enforce your own Creative Commons or your own copyright or your own intellectual property. And, if I took T.O.'s deck and, what did you do, T.O.? If I took your deck and I put it out on the internet, would I get in trouble?
Did the poor man's as well. Did the mail to myself and all that. Plus, I mean, this is all over my social medias and things like that. So, I mean, it's established that I've done this type of thing. Speaking of copyright, though, so the original Rider-Waite is fallen out of copyright. Is that a correct statement?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I've reached out to U.S. Games to digitize that or to repurpose the major arcana for I got commissioned to do would you do a tarot of the whatever discipline type thing? And I knew that it was going to be widely distributed, and I reached out to U.S. Games, which holds the copyright, to ask about it, and their lawyer was good enough to charge me $325 for it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't give that money. I was like, all right, well, that's stupid.
That's what my original idea was to have Rider-Waite cards in the middle of my cards. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, no, I'm afraid to do that. But it's like you were saying earlier, how you don't care if somebody uses your things. But that's why I contacted you about these.
That's right.
To see if I could use them on my show. And as long as I credit you, and you literally were like a blushing schoolgirl. Oh, thank you. Yes, you can.
Right. That's right. Right. Because I don't like, part of it is just like, let's build the community. Let's put our work out there and be good to one another about who owns that. And I work in a field where giving citation and reference and credit is important. And if you don't do that, you're going to be shunned and given your scarlet letter.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I know that because the traditional Rider-Waite. So according to Wikipedia, it's the copyright has fallen out of copyright. And nobody renewed the original copyright. Obviously, you have your variances like the Radiant Rider-Waite, the U.S. Games version of Rider-Waite. So those all have the copyright on it. Mm-hmm. But if you go look at books and things like that, you have tons of people that are making these as well. And you also can see as well, if we go to Kickstarter, you can see just a bunch of people that are doing stuff with the Rider-Waite, like the Rider-Waite Renewed right here, to where they just put explanations on the bottom and the side of the original Rider-Waite and whatnot.
Kat, somebody stole your idea.
It's okay. It's okay. Right. And I think they're more farther funded than I am too, but right. It's okay.
That's right. You put good into the universe and look what happened. Something amazing. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
So I'm painting. I'm doing my paintings to where I mean, it changed quite a bit. So, like the 10 of swords, for example, has vultures waiting. The Ace of Pentacles is one large hand holding out the pentacle. So I'm varying it up. The Three of Swords is three swords stabbing a box of chocolates.
I love that one.
Yeah, thanks. So I mean, I'm obviously changing it up enough to even if it falls in this area, it's so drastically different that it can't be construed as a copy. So, anyway, so that's sort of my plan for that.
That's a smart idea.
So Doc, is yours so far away from this that you're not really concerned about copyright, or?
Oh yeah, I mean I can certainly show you, but it's oh, look at all, yeah, that's good tips. All right. Okay. lots of warnings. Um, so, so I don't know if I don't know. There you go. So like this is the suit of pentacles, and you can see that kind of what I'm doing is, what I'm doing is I'm taking the pentacles version and I'm modifying it. I think I would argue that I'm far enough away from the Rider Waite that if they came knocking on my door, I think I have a pretty arguable defense that this is not your deck. But I mean, I guess it could be, but we'll fight it out at the time. But I key in on some of the key symbolism of the deck. I showed this on my show the other night, but I modified this one in particular because the page was enormous. It was like a giant. And the queen was too. The queen was like this giantess, like looking down on this tiny little coin. So I modify things based on what I'd like, but I think I'm far enough away from the Rider Waite that I can get into. I can get away with it. But I honestly, Tio, I did not know that the original Rider Waite was out of copyright, and that makes me very happy because that opens up some possibilities of more creative projects.
Rider Waite deck copyright. Yeah, I mean, I remember this on Wikipedia. I'm stuck with, okay, Rider Waite tarot deck. Let's see, search for copyright. Copyright status. There we go. All right, let me share this if I can figure this out. Where am I going with this? No, that's not it. And that's not it. And that's not it. Let's see, by process of clicking everything, I think I can finally figure it out.
Keyboard.
There we go. All right. So the Rider Waite deck in Wikipedia talks about copyright status. This is Wikipedia as of today. In the United Kingdom, copyright will expire 70 years, which 2022. So that's in the UK. In the United States, the deck fell in the public domain in 1966, and this has been available for American artists and numerous various media projects. US Games has a copyright claim on their updated version of the deck from 71, but it only covers the new material added to the existing work. So designs on the card backs of the box and any updated color schemas that they have.
Well, there you have it.
So there we go. All right, well, cool. So let's say we all get finished. We all move on. We all got some other projects. What's next for all of you?
Oh my gosh. Like, come on, feel like I don't know. I don't really know. Like, I've got a couple of like outside of tarot, I'm working on a couple of different games, some playing card games and some things like that, and that's probably where things will continue to be for a little while. I may get into doing a tarot version of my Oracle of the Mists deck, and I've given that some thought. I have like these kind of like I have like 43 cards. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe what I could do is just turn that 43 into 78 and call it a tarot deck. So there's certainly some of that out there. But I think for now, I'm kind of the just kind of let things be where they are right now and get those projects going. And as spirit kind of moves me to do something else, and I'll follow that along.
Cool. What about you, Ken?
After the tarot at a glance, after we get through that, I want to do more with my charms. I really like the charms. Everybody likes the charms when I bring them out and read with them.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I also like, I have the idea for another tarot deck. I also have an idea for a photography Lenormand deck I want to do. I like taking pictures, so I think maybe a tarot deck, a photography tarot deck as well might come out of this. I'm not quite sure yet. An oracle deck, another tarot deck. I don't know. My main concern every day is just taking care of the 5 little people in there that depend on me and seeing where life takes me.
There you go. Exactly. I think after to get my watercolor one done, the Rider-Waite-Smith, I think I'm going to go for a Thoth derivative and just sort of my own spin on the Thoth and do it in loose watercolor. I like the turnaround time is quick. So I can turn around a card extremely quickly because I do it in 60% watercolor and 40% Photoshop. And I can just crank out one a day. And I think that's going to be something I can continue on with the Thoth and get the same type of feel with staying loose. I know the Thoth copyright, if you get anywhere near one of these cards, they're going to come after you. So
Pound on your door.
The Thoth copyright, yeah, I've read some things. The Thoth is very very strict with their IP, which understandably, I mean, this is it's just stunning. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to stay far away and do my own spin and try to go from there. So
they're the Disney of the tarot world, is what
Right.
Well, I don't know how. Did you see the Disney out there? The people that did the Disney deck on Kickstarter?
Right. Yeah. I can't believe for the life of me that the mouse hasn't come after him. I mean, you just don't mess with Disney. Like,
I mean, you don't. There's like pretend cartoons that Jeff watches all the time that is mocking Disney, and they shelled out a bunch of money to get rid of these cartoons.
Although there's a great copyright explainer video on YouTube that's done with Disney, which is hilariously ironic because they are intolerant of anything. But this is well beyond. It's in that kind of fair use, safe space thing from their copyright, which is hilarious. But there's a couple on Kickstarter that look like they might be in violation of a copyright. It's not just the Disney one. I was just looking at it this morning.
Do you want to share screen? Which one are you talking about?
I don't know. Let me go find it real quick. See, that's not the right website at all. Don't share my screen quite yet.
That's a not safe for work website.
No, it was fine. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't Kickstarter. It was somebody was like, oh, you know what? They don't own .org. There's another one. There's fantastic.
I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. I found mine. Let me get. Let's see. Here it is, and here we go. Okay, so yeah, it's called Magical Tarot Disney. It looks like it's made in France. They got 151 backers. And the IP is pretty trounced. I mean, that's not anywhere remotely far away from the original IP.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I can't find it, Tio. There's a couple. I thought I saw it. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I was pretty sure that I saw one in there that looked like it was from another service. But I think that's probably a good point for people that if you do want to create a deck. So one of the things I want to do is create a deck that I can use. Right? It's not something you can sell. It's not something you can give to people. It's just a deck for you, and you can do that. If your favorite TV show, say, is Scooby-Doo, you could grab images of that and turn that into your own personal tarot deck that you don't sell, right? And then you're in that kind of gray area of fair use, but as long as you're not sharing it with people and buying it, selling it, or whatever you're doing, then you can get away with using that. So if you want to turn a tarot deck or turn something you love into a tarot oracle deck, you can. You just got to be really careful about not selling it, say, on Kickstarter by just copying the images.
Exactly. All right. So
More power to 'em.
So final thoughts, Kat. I mean, what would you suggest to everybody if they're thinking about this?
Well, I suggest, like that deck that you just showed, I'd be afraid to even back it just because of the legal ramifications of it. Check and double check yourself. Be like the Knight of Pentacles. Make sure you're following all the legal, everything you possibly can, and then some. Don't step on your own toes. Don't step on anybody else's toes. And try to come up with an original idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
what
think
about
so
you, Dan?
too. Yeah, I think if you're one, it's a really interesting journey, and if you're so interested in taking like a training class, and this isn't a commercial. I'm not being sponsored by this person. But Chris Ann, who developed the Light Seers and the Muse Tarot, has a tarot creation course that I got myself for my birthday. And it's a really wonderful kind of journey through creating a tarot deck and thinking about what that might be. Lots of interesting connections to POD and print on demand and printers and image people and how to vet that stuff and how to get it going. But if you're interested in if you're interested in building a tarot or oracle deck, start with, just like Kat says, start with something you love and start looking at the symbolism and meaning inside of it. So, if you love to take walks in the woods, take your camera with you and take some pictures and start thinking about what they might be. And I would absolutely start with an oracle deck like I did, even though it's not going to be the first thing that I get finished. But I think start with that and think about what those images, you're a lot more free to start creating. But yeah, absolutely take what you love and turn it into why you love it, right? The symbolism and the meaning of it. And I think that's going to be the thing that kind of gets you through the frustration of learning a new software or figuring out that shuffled ink is good but not good. I don't like, if you love something, you're willing to stick to it. Otherwise, you're just like, you know what, screw it.
Yep. Man, you need to be really dedicated if you're going to start the journey, because it's rough. One incentive, I think, once you get enough cards, you put it on Kickstarter and let the world decide whether it wants your tarot or not. So the beautiful thing about Kickstarter is you don't really get charged anything if it doesn't fund. So if 200, 500 people want your deck, that's really motivating to get your butt out there and finish that deck that you had the idea on. But just throw it out there and see what people think on social media, see what happens. But just be prepared. This is a lot of work and a lot of time invested to get these things done.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It is a fun journey, and if you've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, if you're swimming in free time, this is a place to be.
Yeah, I have so much free time with 5 kids. It's astounding. But I can say that the sense of pride you get, sense of pride you get, like when I finished card 100, I was like, holy crap, I just did 100 tarot cards. And whether or not I get funded or not, I'm still going to keep trying. I'm still going to try to get my deck out there because I know it'll help people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Doc. Links to both of their channels in the description, as well as Tarot at a Glance. Link to that in the description as well. So thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone, and have a great rest of your Saturday.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.